Hey guys, good morning and welcome to Inspirations for Your Life. I'm glad you decided to join me here today. It is a Thursday. It's June 26th, and welcome to the show, everyone. Our master topic for the week, in case you didn't know, it's multiply meaning, not effort. And our granular for today is Nothing Should Go to Waste, Series 4, Show 26, Episode 6. Hey, friends, if you're thirsty or maybe hungry or want a snack, go to the kitchen, get yourself some thing great to eat or drink. I've got my RO water here. Delicious and refreshing. Get yourself something healthy, something sweet or not healthy. That's totally up to you. And don't forget to check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, of course, inspiring creations after the show, that is. All right, guys, without any further ado, let's kick this puppy off, all right? All right, well, welcome, everyone, to another powerful and thought-provoking episode of Inspirations for Your Life podcast. Whether you're joining us for the first time, I say welcome to you. If you are coming back, well, I say welcome back. It's always great to have fellow colleagues, friends, and associates coming back that enjoy the content. I am your host, John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, podcast host, video producer, engineer, and many other things. And today, I'm diving into a theme that reminds us of the untapped, well, let's say, richness in every moment that can be possessed, like choice and connection. Nothing should go to waste, whether it's your time, your energy, your emotions, or even your failures. Every piece has a value if you choose to see it that way. This episode is all about embracing that mindset and uncovering how to live more meaningfully by repurposing, redirecting, and reimagining everything life gives us. All right, guys. So let's get started. Number one, maximize your value in everything. Yes, everything you possess. That's skills, that's ideas, that's time, and even your setbacks. Yes, guys, your setbacks hold potential value. It's not about having more. It's about using what you already have to fulfill your needs and your desires. By being intentional, we can transform ordinary resources into extraordinary outcomes. Think of your energy, your voice, your presence. None of it should go unused or unnoticed. Number two, repurpose your experiences. And so not every experience will feel positive in that moment. But if we reflect, and we often discover lessons in disguise, that awkward job, failed project, or difficult conversation, repurpose it. Turn it into a story, a teaching moment, or a motivator. Life isn't just about what happens to us, guys. It's about what we do with it. And I think that's important. We can't get stuck because we've got lemons today. Let's work on turning into lemonade. Adopt a sustainable mindset. A sustainable mindset goes beyond eco-consciousness. It's about emotional, mental, and practical sustainability. Are you burning out by overcommitting? Are you giving energy to people or things that don't serve your growth? Sustainability means pacing yourself and cultivating long-term balance, not just the short-term wins. I think a lot of people want those short-term wins because they think it's going to be easier, but in the long run, it's just going to hurt you or burn you. Number four, recognize hidden potential. Just because something or someone doesn't, let's say, shine immediately, doesn't mean it lacks any value or luster. Hidden potential exists in overlooked people, forgotten talents, and even the junk drawer, right, of our lives. Practice curiosity. Question what you've written off. Treasure isn't always obvious. It's often needing to be revealed. So be a little exploratory. Number five, don't waste emotional energy, worry, jealousy, regret. These emotions just drain energy when we allow them to spiral unchecked. Instead of suppressing them, learn to redirect them. That frustration might become a drive to change. That sadness could spark a connection with someone. Every emotion has a use when channeled purposely. And number six, value time intentionally. Time is the only resource we can't get back. All right. We all get 24 hours, right, in a day. Are you spending it or investing it? Be conscious of how your hours and your minutes are allocated. Even leisure time should feel meaningful. When you value your time, you naturally start respecting your goals, your values, and yourself gets to feel more deeply respected. Number 7, grow from every moment. Personal growth doesn't require perfect conditions, it just requires presence and reflection. Whether it's a big achievement or a quiet failure, every moment offers a lesson. Growth isn't a destination, it's a way of being. The more you embrace that, the more rewarding every step becomes. Number 8, redirect negativity constructively. Negativity is energy, misguided, but it's still energy, right? So don't suppress it, repurpose it. That criticism, turn it into a motivator. That conflict, use it to clarify boundaries. When you learn to redirect rather than absorb, you reclaim power and stop negativity from going to waste. It's like if you have a cut, right? If you don't suppress or put pressure on that cut, it's going to keep bleeding, right? It's not going to clot. So we need to do something. So we need to make sure that we stop the bleeding first. All right. I think that's a very, very important thing. And guys, number 9, learn from all relationships. Not every relationship will last, but everyone can teach you something. From close friends to casual encounters, people reflect parts of ourselves back to us. What annoyed you? What inspires you? What did they bring out in you? If you pay attention, even difficult relationships become teachers. Think in terms of legacy. Number 10, what are you leaving behind? Not just when you're gone, but each day. Your impact, your example, your words, they ripple out because when you're not there, people are still thinking, people are still hearing you, just like me. When I'm not on the air, you're not watching me. Well, I'm always on the air, but when you're not watching me, what message am I leaving in your heart or in your mind? Thinking in terms of legacy helps us live more intentionally, and we stop wasting our efforts on distractions and start building something, that means more and that matters. And when something matters, guess what? We are more intentional with it. Well, guys, here's the part of the show. Well, I love every part of the show. I'm sure you know that. But here's one of the part of the shows I really like. So I'm going to basically give you a personal story or lesson for each point today. And I'm hoping that this will help you solidify what I'm talking about. And by doing that, it's going to give you kind of like a bridge of where you can go. Because I know sometimes it can get very confusing to say, like, John, I'm lost. Like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't even know where to start. Do I go clockwise or do I go counterclockwise? Or do I go in a circle? Do I go in a line? Do I go zigzag? I mean, right, the straightest point between two lines, right, between 2 points is a line. But does that always mean that? Because sometimes we're doing things, but the straightest point between a line may not be correct because there might be other hindrances. Like we learned the other day, roads were exploding. 287 was actually buckling and the road was melting. So we have to look at the situation that we're in and we have to say, gee, is this really relative to me at the current moment? If it's not, then I think we've got to do some, let's say, digging. And by digging, we can actually discover some curiosities. Okay? And these curiosities, I hope, will inspire you to, let's say, regroup. Sometimes start over, but sometimes you don't want to throw everything away. Sometimes you've already started and you've got a good path, but maybe you just need to change part of the recipe, right? We've all made cookies before, and you guys know I love to do culinary. Sometimes when I made cookies the very first time, they didn't come out great. Will that mean I throw the whole recipe away? No, maybe I can doctor it up. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe I forgot something. And so these are important things. And so when we understand this, it's a gateway for us to become, I'm going to say, more intentional. Okay? Much more intentional. All right, let's get into these points. All right. So number 1, maximize your value in everything. Remember, once I was helping a client who felt deflated, because they didn't have the right tools to start their business. They were so focused on what they lacked that they ignored what they already had: knowledge, connections, and a true passion for their industry. I helped them shift their mindset to see their current resources as valuable. Within months, they were running a profitable business built entirely from what was already at their fingertips. I think so many times we're always looking to judge even ourselves that we forget to applaud what we've already done. I think that's a very, very, very important thing. So personally, I used to look at my free time as wasted time if I wasn't working, but I learned to shift that thinking. I began using that time to learn something new, reconnect with people, or simply reflect. See, that change allowed me to recharge my batteries and bring even more focus and energy into my work. Every moment, tool, or challenge truly has something to offer if we open our mind to look closely enough. Number two, repurpose experiences. Early in my career, many, many years ago, I was part of a project that completely fell apart. At the time, I felt like it was a failure and an embarrassment. This was like one of my first gigs I did after college, before I really took the company full time. It was always started when I was in college, but it was part time. But a year later, I was mentoring someone facing a similar challenge. I drew from that failed project to guide them through their journey, and they avoided many of the same pitfalls that we did and faced. What seemed like a loss turned into be a blueprint for someone else's growth. In my podcasting journey, some episodes didn't perform the way I hoped in the beginning, but instead of deleting them, I revisited them. I pulled the best segments out and I reused them in highlight reels and coaching sessions. Every piece of content, every stumble, right, became part of a bigger purpose. Nothing truly goes to waste when you're willing to repurpose it. I think that's a big key for today. All right, number three, adopt a sustainable mindset. There was a time, guys, when I tried to be everything to everyone, working nonstop, taking every client on, and saying yes to every request, both professionally and even personally. I thought I was being productive. I thought I was being polite, but I was burning out. Eventually, I realized I was living unsustainably, emotionally and physically. I had to step back and reevaluate how I managed my energy. Now, guys, I build space into my schedule. I prioritize tasks that align with my long-term visions and values. I even give myself permission to rest. Yes, I do. Adopting a sustainable mindset allowed me to deliver consistent value without sacrificing my well-being. Sustainability isn't just about the planet, guys. It's about preserving ourselves. Number four, recognize hidden potential. Well, years ago, which again, this was years ago, I was working with a young intern who seemed shy and uncertain. Many overlooked him, but I noticed he had a great eye for detail and a quiet strength. I gave him more responsibility. And over time, he blossomed into a confident, creative leader. Today, he runs his own successful business. That hidden potential just needed someone to believe in him. I've also found hidden potential in everyday things, like an old camera that sparked my interest into visual storytelling, or an unused notebook that became my journal of breakthroughs. Life hides treasures in plain sight. When we look beyond the surface, we often find gold in places we never expected. One thing I want to share with you, and we'll do a whole episode on this, is our dreams. Last night I had a dream about basically helping some guys on a bowling team, 13, 14, 15, and 6-year-olds, teaching them how to bowl, and also answering questions for them about life. And so that indicated and resonated very well with me that I'm here to mentor people. Maybe not just 13, 14, 15, 6-year-olds, but everyone. And I think when I was able to do that, I was able to get them to not only appreciate life, but they actually started bowling better. It was a bowling dream. I love to bowl. Number five, don't waste emotional energy, okay? Used to spend a lot of time replaying negative conversations in your head. The things I wish I said or how someone wronged me. It drained me. Move on. It's a bump in the road. One day I wrote a letter to someone I was upset with, not to send it, but to release the emotion. That simple act gave me clarity and helped me move forward with peace and tranquility. Emotional energy, guys, is powerful. But like electricity, it needs to be directly channeled. When I started transforming frustration into motivation and sadness into empathy, I found that those emotions became tools rather than burdens. Letting go or redirecting that energy is one of the healthiest things that you can do in life. Number 6, guys, value time intentionally. There, ladies and gentlemen, was a time, it was a stretch where I said yes to every meeting, every call, every invite, thinking I was being productive and also polite. But I often left these conversations drained and behind on my real priorities. I finally started time blocking and asking, does this align with my visions and goals? That one filter changed everything for me, like overnight. Now I spend my mornings in focus mode and leave my afternoons more open. I also protect time for things that matter: learning, exercise, family, rest. You know, in the beginning, I used to take interviews for podcast people all the time. Now I set aside time when I do pre-chats with my potential guests. Every hour, I control adds richness to my life. Time is our most precious currency, and how we spend it defines who we become, and it shapes the level of respect. And when we have a higher level of respect for ourselves, guess what? Other people start to have that same level of respect. Respect yourself, and other people will respect you. Grow after every moment. After losing a major client unexpectedly, I felt defeated. But once the shock wore off, I asked myself what I could do to learn from it. So many of you know that I broke my tib and fib, over 7-8 years ago or more. And I did it by no fault of my own. And I was a great intermediate skier. But this resort where I went to, Hunter Mountain, they decided to give the resort over to their grandkids, the grandfather. They didn't know anything about business, money, of course, nothing about skiing, nothing about hospitality, or even the restaurant industry. They should have closed the mountain down, but they didn't because they were so money hungry. And that's what they did. I was one of the 2 or 3 people that day that weekend that went to the hospital and didn't have surgery. I remember going to the top of the mountain and coming down. It was a little icy. So I said, I'm going to go to a bigger mountain because it's going to be less ice because it'll be higher up. Good idea. Unfortunately, when I started going down the mountain, I pivoted left, right a few times. When I went right and just about was about to pivot left again, my left leg just snapped. And I blocked out any pain or discomfort, which was amazing. And when I fell, it was like my leg felt disconnected. But again, I didn't know if it was the cold. It felt because, the weather does funny things to you. And then I healed my leg without any surgery. I won't get into all that now, but I used something called bone knit, energy, like sugar pills. And that energy caused my leg to heal. So I think it's important to realize what goes on in your life. And so what happened in this case was I hired some people to help because I wasn't able to run my business, right, with having a broken leg and in a wheelchair and back and forth and whatnot. And starting my day took, let's say, a few hours just to get going, when now it only takes like a half hour or so. I remember this one kid that I hired, and I went through all the due diligence to make sure I hired somebody good. And he was great in the beginning, but then when I started to put confidence in him and rely on him, he started missing the mark. Decided that he was going to take lunch because he needed lunch, but he never checked in and asked if he could take lunch. A client was waiting for him, this one client, at 4 o'clock. Well, he got busy that day. He didn't have a chance to take a break. He didn't ask me if he could take a break. He just assumed he would just take a break at 4 o'clock when the client was waiting for him. I'm sure if he would have called me, I would have said, hey, look, Yeah, go take a break. I'll tell the client you're going to be there in 30 minutes. Would have been no problem. The fact that he never called me and he just showed up an hour late, that was disrespectful. The fact that he didn't know what he was doing and he broke things, that was disrespectful. When I brought him into a exit interview, he was like this person that was like so afraid. And I had given him warnings, but it's like he didn't see the writing on the wall. And I think sometimes we have to see our own writing on the wall, and we have to not be afraid to let somebody go. Letting him go was one of the best things I did. And letting that client go, or them getting rid of us, was one of the best things we ever did, because they were abusing us. And no one should abuse me. We have a very strict policy. We don't discriminate for race, religion, sexual orientation, creed, color, political party, whether it's an employee, whether it's a vendor, right? Contractor. Important. Very, very important. Even on a personal level, I now look at little setbacks, a canceled plan, a bad day, as invitations to pause and grow. There's always something to extract if you're paying attention. Life's lessons don't always come gift wrapped or in the right paper that you want, or the right bow, or maybe in the right flavor of a sandwich, but they're always there for you, right? So make sure that you pay attention to them. Number 8, redirect negativity constructively. This is key. I once received harsh feedback after a presentation. At first, it hurt me. I wanted to defend myself, but I paused and asked what truth might be in this. I took their comments separately and the emotions from the facts and distanced them and used it to make my next talk even better. That presentation ended up being one of my best. This happened actually, I was giving a presentation for a group of librarians. And I was training as a contractor for a large software company. I won't mention them. They start with the letter F. And they're in many college libraries and bookstores. But 2 things. One, they didn't treat their contractors and employees very well. And second, these librarians had this kind of attitude. It had to be their way or no way. They were definitely not open to new ways of learning. Negativity is like fire. It can burn you or it can fuel you. I now teach clients to write down their complaints or frustrations and turn them into vibrant goals or aspirations or solutions. That shift in energy changes everything. We can't always avoid negativity, unfortunately, but we can choose what we do with it and how we respond to it. Number 9, learn from all relationships. A former friend of mine and I had a falling out for a while, and I felt a little bitter about it. But when I reflected, I saw how much I learned from that relationship. How to set boundaries, communicate early and clearly, and trust my instincts. That difficult chapter ended up being one of my greatest teachers. Even though we didn't come back to being friends because the person was a little bit pig-headed, and I was willing to forgive them, and I was hoping they were willing to forgive me, I just chalked it up to the universe and said, you know what? What's meant to be is meant to be, and I don't hold any grudges against this person, and I wish them all the best in life. Even short interactions, a barista's kindness or a stranger's impatience can teach us, well, relationships are mirrors. They reflect what we need to see if we're willing to look. Now, I view every person as a potential mentor in some way. And I was somewhere and I was talking to somebody, and my friends go, well, you're just talking to a person. Do you know them? I'm like, no, I just had a conversation with them. Like, but do you know them? I said, yeah, but we had something in common. We live in the same community, or we went to the same school or something like that. So I always find a way to make an inroad. If somebody doesn't welcome it, well, then I just thank them for the time and I wish them a good day. Number 10, think in terms of legacy. A few years ago, I started asking myself, if I stopped working today, what would people remember? That question shifted how I show up each day. I began focusing more on service, consistency, and authenticity. I realized legacy isn't something we build at the end. It's what we build every day. And I got to tell you, with all my content, for the content I create, to the conversations I have, I now ask, does this add value beyond me? Thinking in terms of legacy helps me live with more intention, more purposefulness. It reminds me that the ripple effect of today can become someone else's inspiration for tomorrow. I know that you might be saying, John, like, I can't do that. Well, you don't have to be a content creator, but you need to just be purposeful in your communications, even if you're not a speaker. If you talk with somebody, it could be whether you're a mother, father, brother, sister, relative. You don't have to be a boss. Be purposeful in your communication. Remember to listen more than you speak. That's why we're given 2 ears and not, and only one mouth. And I think when we start to assimilate these things and we start to appreciate even our setbacks, because our setbacks can be pretty interesting. I'll give you another example. There was a college course I was taking. I decided to leave the course because the instructor and I were not aligning. Not only were we not aligning, but the instructor was starting to put blame on me. And really, the instructor couldn't teach. Now, I have been in class before where I teach myself. I couldn't even make heads or tail of what the syllabi is because they kept changing it. And when I reached out to this professor and I said, hey, I have a question, I was told, well, you need to chill and just take it step by step. I reached out again. I was told I study too much. I reached out again. I was told I should drop the course. I didn't take that advice right away. But one thing I did learn from this person is I don't want to be in that class again. I don't want to be in a class like that with that person. That person disrespected me. And once somebody disrespects me, it's very hard for me to go back and let's say I can forgive them, but I don't forget. I don't ever want to be in a class with that person again because they had this very big ego. One thing when I get my next master's, my PhD, I'm not going to have that ego. I'm going to be humble. I'm learning so I can become better, so I can inspire others, not so I can shove it down somebody's throat that I have a PhD or I have a master's. I have it so I can enrich the world and make the world a better place. I think that's a very important thing, but I realize some people, they get a degree because they want to brag about it. That's not who I am. I went back to college just recently, not because of anybody, but because of me. And because I want to add more value to this world. And some people are going to challenge you. So I want to let you know that nothing should go to waste. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, well, then sit down with a pen, paper, or your laptop. Take some notes, journal. You'll eventually figure it out. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Be sure to check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. I'll catch you real soon. Have a great one, and don't waste anything, especially not your time.